extending what you've done for internal employees or partners to customers?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, good. So the question was, do the folks here from Netflix and Coke see extending what they're doing for internal employees to customers and partners?
I'll go first. Customers, I can't speak for, but for partners, definitely. That is part of our roadmap. We would definitely like to do that. The only thing that's actually holding us up now is bring your own domain. Google's now got SKUs for partners and partner identities and that don't give them access to any sort of like Gmail or Drive or whatnot, but they do just an identity SKU, but they don't allow you to bring your own domain, which was a killer for us at the time, but is coming probably sometime soon.
So
You didn't hear that either.
so that's one of those things we didn't hear either. Yeah, so that's one of those things that we've been thinking about as well, and probably hear more about it as we go. But the first of those things, which is at least if you're already an apps customer, if you're a GCP customer, getting an identity and an independent identity by which you can use the services that we talked about in the first presentation, which is SSO, provisioning, etc., security, all the good security stuff that we're talking about, without buying any of these particular applications, is something that we're trying to aim at first, and probably that's something that you'll see pretty soon.
Next question?
Well,
yes.
no, I just say from our standpoint, the reason that we asked for not being able to have non-Coca-Cola domains on, because we have Coca-Cola projects, but we have a whole other division for marketing that works with the public. And we need to be able to, like you may have seen the flag campaign on the commercials. That was done on Google, right? And that was using customer accounts. So yes, there is a need to have customer-driven accounts, but it's in a whole separate branch or a different organization than what I would normally be involved in. So.
Thank you.
I actually have two questions. First question is about, you just now presented a fantastic architecture. But there's a separation of roles in the, like for example, if you're running a router or enterprise, you want to separate your data plan versus your control plan. That is about your privileged user access versus your normal data users access. If these two systems are now anchored on the same IAM system, how do you mitigate that risk? And my second question is about encryption. Basically, it's about the same, very similar concept. Because your encryption system is only as good as how you control access to the keys. Now, access control is again coming back to where's the IAM system that you're using to manage your key access. So all of these three elements actually are coordinated together. And I'm very curious to learn the roadmap. How do you separate these three dimensions?
Yeah.
Security and control, avoid single point of failure, and specifically for the encryption system. I remember a while back Google had a news you're going to support bring your own key type of feature.
Yep.
I'm very curious about that roadmap and how it work out.
Yep. Okay. So let me try and summarize those two questions if I can, and I'll see if I can remember all of that. So the first piece was really around privileged account management and separating the control plane from the data plane, and specifically around things like IAM. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And then the second question was about encryption in sort of a related manner about, well, again, I want some sort of, how do I ensure that it's happening in a secure way? What's happening with bring your own key? What's the roadmap there? Those sorts of things. So Amit's watching me keenly here, and he's going to jump in if I go astray. So the first piece of things is, there are two pieces to that. First off, just as a general backgrounder, Google has been building massively distributed systems at data center scale for literally decades. And so when you think of something like IAM, it's not just one system. It's a set of systems that are designed to work in properly separated ways with the appropriate architecture and so on. And we do that both for security reasons and for redundancy reasons. And for our own purposes internally, if you think of the vast amount of consumer data that we have and the incredible amount of oversight that we get both from the US and European governments, we've had to get really good at how do you separate those levels of access. So what we're doing is we're now exposing more and more of that to our customers and making it available to them. Now, specifically around the privileged account management piece of things, what we're seeing there is two things right now, and this is something that for us I think is a bit of an evolving area. And one piece is service accounts, to say, well, we have a service account that is, in fact, and this is sort of to Leroy's point, is I want to manage service accounts in the same way I manage user accounts. Well, today you can't. They are separate things. And that is really that separation, is that a service account is something that is a privileged account that is allowed to do things on certain services. And it's something that's not just managed through your normal process. And then the other thing that we're seeing with some customers is that they already have partner applications, things like CyberArk and so on, that they have a whole process flow of how do I check out a credential, a privileged account credential, how do I use that credential? And so we're looking more at how do we, you can integrate that today via the APIs, but we're looking more at how do you make that more seamless.
And we're actually looking at going in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we have CyberArk in place.
Okay.
And that's where we're planning on going as we move forward with Google.
Okay. And any other points from you folks on that? Amit, have I gone astray yet? Nope, good, thumbs up. So the second piece is the encryption piece. And so again, in the wake of Snowden and so on, I'm sure you've seen the amount of focus that companies like Google are putting on providing secure encryption that really we can't even get at the data. If we wanted to, if somebody came to us with a subpoena, we're like, nope, can't get at it, sorry. So that's a really big area of focus for us, is providing that secure encryption. And there are, again, multiple layers of that. So there's encryption down at the low level, at the actual data objects level, the persistent disks and so on. And the keys that are used to encrypt that are actually derived from higher level keys. So even if you have that low level key, or if you have the high level key, you're not in a good place unless you can rerun that derivation. And then the other piece, as you alluded to, is bringing your own keys. And so that's something we do support today for both Google Cloud Storage and for Compute Engine / persistent disks. And it's something that if you have your own key management infrastructure, you can then integrate it with ours, and you can actually, in fact, even wrapper up our keys so they can only be used on Google Cloud Platform. And we are then looking at other things in future to make that easier for customers along the roadmap.
And it wasn't on the roadmap, but since we use BigQuery heavily, we want to be able to do the same thing with BigQuery tables. So we need to be able to encrypt our tables, and we need to be able to manage those keys for that. So that's something else that we've asked for.
Anything else?
I think that's about it. That's comprehensive. Any more questions?
Yes, lots.
We have from Cisco.
I saw right at the back there, I think you were.
This is more for Jonathan. I was wondering, so you use Google Groups to manage authorizations and give people access to things. I was wondering, who handles the last mile user creation within the target application? Do you use a ticketing system, or do you?
We don't actually create users in most of those systems. Most of those, it's more about creating a session in those systems, but it's not about actually creating a user. Most of these are engineering applications, and it's merely about taking the claim data and creating a session and then giving some kind of interaction around based on that claim data. But what we're trying to get away from is actually having those silos where we're creating those users in those systems and have one authoritative directory for everything. And yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Sure.
A question about the directory. Does the directory cover all the Google properties at this point? And if I'm syncing from my on-prem to that directory, I know it looks like you're doing that GAD sync once a day. Is that possible?
And we're getting ready to move away from that, actually, and moving. We did that because that allowed us to go very quickly. It allowed us to get up and running very quickly, and we'll be moving into a direct federation into SiteMinder so that we're not doing the GAD sync anymore.
So just let me restate that. The first part of the question is, does this directory cross multiple Google products? And then what was the second piece around the synchronization?
Well, the GADS up here is schedule-based versus event-driven.
Sorry?
GADS is schedule-based versus event-driven.
Yes, it's schedule-based.
Schedule-based, yeah. So the first part, right, the directory is the same directory that the APIs that what we talked about in the first part of the session is what both products are, like the number of enterprise products that you're going to see, they use the same APIs per se. The storage, the directory, which is the backend for each of these, the platform is the same as well. The only place where you start differing down the line is how you want to go about authorization on top of that, and the roles and the privilege that you're trying to create in each of these applications. So those buckets are a little bit different, but the underlying storage management of all these resources is the same platform, so it should work. Yeah.
So one directory to email, drive, sites?
No.
Yes, Google Cloud Platform, and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
yes. Other questions? Okay.
So there's one
You're
there.
pointing? Yeah?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Ah, yes, okay,
Yeah,
sorry, I'm
please go ahead.
not moving my head far enough.
I had a question for the gentleman with Netflix. I saw your employee dashboard, essentially the thing with all the lots. In our company's days at XP, that looked really similar to like the Nobel delivered applications window that our customers love that we no longer have. I was curious about how did you guys go about developing that? I don't think that.
It's actually it's a really simple single page app. It's all JavaScript and CSS that driven, and we don't have any back-end CMS or anything like that. It's actually, most of it's based on basically a JSON file that has groups and the SSO endpoints on those. The thing is if someone gets access to that JavaScript, they can manipulate it, but they still don't have access to the actual underlying system, which we control within Ping Federate or some other system. So it's really lightweight, and all it is just a single page app.
Really cool. We struggle with getting our endpoints to folks. Like, how do I get to these things? And it looks like a great way of managing it. Here you go. Here's all you need. So thank you.
Any more? No?
I have a quick question.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier that some developers are going to access service on the platform via SSH, and that is enabled, via the IAM, the Google IAM.
Yes.
It supports all that.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So if you think of somebody deploying something to Google Cloud Platform, if they're using something at a lower level than a managed service, and they're actually interacting with essentially a machine instance or a virtual machine, then they need to be able to run startup scripts, they need to be able to do configuration, and so then SSH is typically the mechanism to do that. And so we provide the ability to tie your SSH authorization either to a key, if you want to distribute a key to people, or to an identity. And then if you have it tied to an identity, then it'll be based on your SSO.
So it will
The access will be based on your SSO. Yes, absolutely, yes. The answer is yes. And all right, well, thank you very much. Super appreciate your attendance here, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.